I'm in Tashkent. We've just left the confines of the hotel and we're off to see if we can find the metro station. Do I know where I am now? Well, I think I can tell the camera that our hotel lady sent herself in completely the wrong direction. So we're somewhere other than we thought we were going to be. Somewhere along Hamza Street.
At last, the metro. We discovered that the city of stones, which the name Tashkent means, was below ground, a city of marble and chandeliers. The Russians, they're not great on signposts telling you where anything is. We're very good at building metro stations. And of course the Uzbekis are particularly fond of markets.
Where are you now? Where are you now?
Chosu Market.
Where is that? Chosu.
Since independence from Russia 10 years ago, capitalism has returned in force. Although a Muslim country, the women do not hide under a veil. They are highly conspicuous in bright, unisized frocks. The dowdier men are more concerned with how best to barbecue a goat. Although the market was full of vegetables and chili and paprika and turmeric and pepper, hardly any of it found its way into the food they served in the restaurants that we went to. If that's not to your taste, I'm sure that you'll find something that you would really like in Chosu Market. One of the problems is that they've changed all the names from Russian to Uzbeki names, so consequently we got lost once more. But this nice Russian lady tried to help us and lead us towards our hotel.
Okay, we're trying to find a museum of the history museum of the people of Uzbekistan. Now something tells me that there won't be anything in English in there, and there won't be look-see visit.
Another must-see are the Russian girls, who dress somewhat differently from the Uzbeki women. Although much of the country has a water shortage, there always seems to be enough water for fountains in the cities.
What's his name?
Florence. Hello, my name is Lawrence.
It's a Sheikh Kavendi Takur Mausoleum, 15th century. And we're just on the tail end of a school party here. And they encouraged us to come in.
And I assume the tree is of some significance.
This is another morsel here, 15th century, protected by the state. But I really can't be bothered to take my boots off again to go in and have a look inside.
Well, we've just been eating and we've had a pilau. Of course, we didn't actually ask for pilau, we wanted noodles, but somewhere along the line it got translated into a pilau rice dish, and some cold cucumber soup.
Delicious.
And it was okay. Was it okay? I think we actually paid for 2 dishes of pilau as opposed to the one that we actually had, but it was so cheap. And we discovered that Helen can cause great mirth and merriment and be congratulated on her perfect Uzbekistani by just saying the magic Uzbekistan's words, have you got a toilet? Doesn't actually find you a toilet, but you get you get thanked profusely. He was practically going to hug her. So we don't know what she actually said or what he thought she said, but obviously it's something that's good.
I still want a toilet.
And she still wants a toilet, and we haven't found one yet.
No, this isn't the toilet, this is the central mosque of Tashkent. And beside it you'll find all the boys swimming. And the girls will be elsewhere. All Uzbeki cars come equipped with broken windscreens. We've now joined our travelling companions and are heading east.
I must admit, I thought your house was that. Oh, I see.
I don't know, it's very close to us, yeah.
Where are we? We've just come through the Fergana Pass. So we're the other side of the Fergana Pass. In the Fergana? In the Fergana, yes. I think that's about it for the moment.
The Russians came to the Fergana Valley in the 1860s, created Fergana town and turned the whole area into a cotton producing region.
Well, that was a scholar who was born here and he went off to Baghdad to study, and his name was, I will tell you as I read it here, Ahmad al-Ghani. And this whole area, according to what it says here, was projected of the first president of the Republic of Uzbekistan, Islam Karamov. So there you have it.
Fergana is the most populous region in Central Asia. It has factories, universities, parks, tree-lined streets, and it was where Babur, the founder of the Mughal Empire in India, came from. On our trip to the market, a couple of local students, probably attracted to our youngest and most glamorous group member, joined us to practice their English. They had high hopes for the country, though their greatest dream was to leave it and study abroad. But one felt that they would probably return because the air was fresh and the people were friendly and food was abundant and delicious.
That's also a new one. When I bought mine years ago, they didn't have it.
Tourists was still a novelty in this region. And a video camera was an even bigger novelty.
Magic, yes.
And gold teeth was still the most popular fashion accessory. This being part of the Silk Road, we had to go and see a silk factory. Here you see them laboriously preparing the silk for dyeing. It looked like hard, steamy work. And it looked like the entire family became involved in it. The weaving sheds have probably been like this for the past 1,000 years or so. Even the eye makeup on the girls looks like something that Alexander the Great might have brought with him. The traditional designs were probably designed to be spotted at a distance if you happen to wander off alone in the desert. Our next stop was Kokand. This is where the last Khan of the Fergana Valley had his palace. We felt rather underdressed. It was Friday, and everybody was in their very best clothes. We came to realise that on Friday, everybody in Uzbekistan had a wedding to go to.
Okay, we're just hanging around here at a checkpoint. There's lots of checkpoints from Tashkent into the Valley. So our tour guide has all our passports and he goes off, and if he's really unlucky, he has to fill in endless forms with all our names and details on. Otherwise, he just goes and shows them this huge pile of passports and hopes that they'll take pity on him and wave him through. But we seem to have a proper form-filling procedure going on now, so we're just hanging around waiting, trying to avoid putting any cameras in the direction of the soldiers, because they're looking out for terrorists coming in here from where?
From Tajikistan? Oh, Kyrgyzstan.
To cause riots and mayhem in Uzbekistan.
Yeah, but they don't reckon that we're members of the Taliban, do they?
They haven't recognised that yet, no. We're in disguise, you see.
Yeah.
We weren't certain whether we were in a hold-up caused by terrorists or just plain roadworks. When this guy first started waving at me, I thought I was in serious trouble. But it turned out all he was interested in was having a go at my camera.
Oh, it's on record. No. You want closer?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, we're still waiting.
Yaman, degani nima degan? Yaman.
Mening dilim boshqa qo'shiqlarimmas. Hopsan deb qo'ymasang nogas. Men nima derdim. Mening aytganlarim shunchaki havas. Mening dilim boshqa qo'shiqlarimmas. Hopsan deb qo'ymasang nogas. Men nima derdim. Men nima derdim. Voy men nima derdim. Men nima derdim. Men nima derdim.
Khiva.
And where's that?
Where's Khiva?
Yeah.
It's the northwest of Uzbekistan.
Right.
It's where Captain Burnaby ended up.
Captain Burnaby was one of those enterprising Englishmen of the 19th century who decided, practically on a whim, to ride from St. Petersburg to Khiva in the dead of winter. He said he did it to see if the Russians were there. And when he arrived in Khiva, he discovered they weren't there quite yet, but they were going to be there. Consequently, he wrote a couple of bestsellers about the Russian threat, and later on managed to get himself speared to death in the Sudan campaign to rescue Gordon.
According to our guidebook, Khiva's name was redolent of slave caravans, barbaric cruelty, and terrible journeys across deserts and steppes infested with wild tribesmen. and the name of Khiva struck fear into all but the boldest 19th century hearts. Well, I'm pleased to say that we didn't strike fear into our hearts, because we've just popped on a plane from Tashkent to Khiva, and we've had about a 30-minute car ride, and now we are in the one of the oldest, best preserved ancient towns in Uzbekistan.
Have you been up?
Yes, 500, left 400 soon.
Oh.
And actually, I found postcards inside here.
Oh, did you? Because I was thinking, where am I going to get the
Yeah,
postcard?
inside they have
Is it worth the climb to the top?
Oh yeah, definitely.
is.
But watch your head.
Okay.
This is the minaret of death. The Khan of Khiva used to take all the exceptionally irritating people that he knew and put them in a sack and throw them off the top onto the ground below. It's not through your fingerprints. Old Town Khiva looks nice and clean and antiseptic nowadays, but in its heyday it was full of goats and camels and hordes of very, very hairy people, and little in the way of sanitation. Even today, water is a major problem, and our hotel in the town could only allow us to have a wash between the time of 6 o'clock in the morning and 7. It would be a mistake to think that cities like Khiva were backwaters in history. In their heyday, they were great centres of learning and scholarship. This statue is to the man who invented algebra, Al-Goreshmi.
Растоптанный толпою, а вот душистый плод под
очень вечером. Помнит, ты был герой, гордившийся собою. Теперь ты жалкий трус, подавленный стыдом.
By the time we'd got to the eastern gate where runaway slaves were nailed by their ears to the door, we felt like having a good song and dance.
Dogs are howling. The camel Michael's been put to sleep for the night. You can smell his presence, but you can't see him. And we've just finished a dinner. Yeah, it's called a family dinner. So we've all been sat very uncomfortably on the floor, eating meat and veg soup, followed by meat and veg stew, which looked like meat and veg soup, but less of the
Less sloop and all the stew.
We were now on our way to Bukhara, and we came across a rather dismal-looking river that turned out to be the River Oxus. This river was the boundary between the known and the unknown world for the ancient Greeks.
Adam
Been eating chicken shashlik.
Yes, it's been chicken shazlik tonight.
Superior to beef.
And a number 9 beer.
Connoisseurs of beef shashlik by now.
That's right. Yes, the chicken, we recommend chicken shazlik in Bukhara. It's well worth the flight out. And it's all gone dark now.
But is it well worth 7 hours on the road for?
Bukhara was Central Asia's most holy city. And it was also one of the most important trading centres along the Silk Road. And here we see a 500-year-old shopping mall. The camel traders would park their camels at the caravanserais and then come to the bazaars and inspect all the goods that were available for them to purchase and transport back to the cities that they came from. The numbers of madrasas and mosques was anything to go by, Bukhara was certainly living up to its name as one of the holiest cities in Central Asia. It shouldn't be forgotten that in its heyday, Bukhara had a huge Jewish population and a huge Christian population. It was a very cosmopolitan sort of place. Bukhara took its religion lightly, and here we have a statue of Haj Nasruddin, a very famous local scholar who made his name writing joke books.
He bought 2 kilos of cherries and he was eating. Friends of him looked at him like this, and he said, "Why are you eating the fish?" He said, "I made money for the fish too, and that's why I'm eating." So there are many anecdotes about the Nasruddin Pasha. Him looked at him like this, and he said, "Why are you eating the fish?" He said, "I made money for the fish too, and that's why I'm eating." So there are many anecdotes about the Nasruddin Pasha.
Mister, do you want to buy?
Oh, no thanks.
Mister, you want to buy?
No thanks. This is the Kalon minaret. It's 800 years old, and Genghis Khan was reputedly so impressed by it that he left it standing but destroyed everything else around it. What you're seeing now is the 16th century Kalon Mosque, which is big enough for 10,000 people to hold their prayers in. Bukhara is famous for its carpets, both old and new, and the distinguishing feature of a Bukharan carpet is the elephant's footprint motif. This is called the Ark. It was the administrative centre of the emirate and had been occupied from the 5th century right up till the time when the Red Army bombarded it in 1920. Before the Ark is the Registan, which means a large sandy place. This was a favoured venue for executions, including those of, in 1842, 2 British officers, Captain Connolly and Colonel Stoddard. This is the prison where they were kept for 3 years. The story is that Captain Stoddard arrived to reassure the local emir that the British invasion of Afghanistan was a good thing. However, Stoddard managed to offend local protocol, and so he was thrown into the infamous bug pit. Connolly was sent later on to try and clear up the misunderstanding, but succeeded only in increasing suspicions. When the British were defeated by the Afghans, the 2 of them were executed. The last emir of Bukhara, Alim Khan, built himself a summer palace. Apparently, he left out lots of lumps of rotting meat all around the city, and the place where the meat rotted the slowest, he decided would be the coolest place to build a palace. And so here we have a rather cool looking palace. Piece of craft work was a thing called a Susanna. These were large pieces of embroidery that would be handed to the bride as her dowry. Every night, the emir would throw an apple from this tower to the harem. Whoever caught it, caught him. Maybe it's because there is so little TV in Bukhara, the locals like nothing more than to haggle over prices for hours, just to get $1 more out of you. The trick is to walk away for several miles in the hope that they will run after you with the goods willing to take your price. If they don't, then obviously you don't need another piece of dusty old cloth anyway. Okay, so where have you been?
I've been to the pits.
Yeah. The Ismail Samani Mausoleum was built in the 10th century for the founder of the Samanid dynasty. It's more Zoroastrian than Islamic and was saved from the ravages of Genghis Khan by being covered over by sand by the local townsfolk.
Am I here okay?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, this is our free day in Bukhara, which is our shopping day. To revive us from the shopping we've done so far, we're drinking our standard revival drink here, which is cold Fanta. But when you buy this on the street, you can't walk away from where you bought it because they demand the bottle back instantly. Anyway, we're sat down now and we've been shopping, and I bought this for myself. What's this? Lapis lazuli?
Lapis lazuli.
Lapis lazuli?
Or lazuli.
Okay. And we bought a door hanging thingamajig, which is indescribable, but maybe you'll get to see a picture of it when we put it up over a door when we get back to Hong Kong. And I think once we've revived, Lawrence is going to go off to the email cafe. And I think I'm going to just stay here and read a book. And then it'll be lunchtime, and of course when it's lunchtime there's really no other option. It has to be shazlik. It's every day is shazlik. There's a great variety of food here. It's shazlik, or it's plov, or it's tomato and cucumber salad. That's about it really. So we have that to look forward to.
This is Labby House. That's Persian for poolside. It was built around 1620 and is part of the Jewish quarter of Bukhara. Right up until the 1970s, 7% of the populations are Jewish.
There you go.
This is the gatehouse of a long-gone madrasa. Madrasas, by the way, are schools, Islamic schools, built in 1807. The name Char Minar means 4 minarets in Tajik, but strictly speaking they're not minarets, they're decorative towers. House, which is it's called the National House because it belonged to a famous Bukharan merchant. Lawrence can tell you the history of him because I can't remember offhand.
Well, the merchant is not really a merchant. He's in fact the ex-president of the Bukhara SSR.
Okay.
And essentially he betrayed the emir to the Russians, to the Bolsheviks. And they made him the president, and then they killed him.
And we've just had
or replaced him and sent his family to Siberia.
We've just had a personal tour around the place. Some quite exotic looking rooms in there, and we've been dressed up in traditional Bukharan wear. And Lawrence reckoned we looked like we'd just come out the nativity play, which is probably close on.
In the middle of nowhere, expecting to be met by the owner of the Gare camp that we were going to spend the night in. Unfortunately, he didn't turn up, so we hitched a ride in the back of this truck, which turned out to be a truck of a rival Gare camp, who were in fact kidnapping us.
Tuck it in your knickers. Yeah. Don't lose your teeth.
Take that chance on the camel.
Yeah, well, we offered.
Peter's just gone off to make sure in the right one.
Yeah. Oh, we are in the wrong one.
Oh, look, they're all pointing in different directions. Look.
Yeah.
Oh, what's new? This is Central Asia.
So we're stuck in the what desert?
No.
To find a home for us.
Our leader believed that our gear camp was just over the dunes, and that the crafty owners of this camp were lying to him in order to have us stay there. However, they were telling the truth. Our camp had moved away. Several hours of heated argument later, we were transported back to the road.
Right, action now. It's getting exciting now. What's happened is that the camp that we were going to has moved. Unfortunately, we didn't tell anybody that they'd moved, and so now we've got to find another bus, because the bus we came in has disappeared and gone, and the bus that took us to the wrong camp refuses to take us any further. So now negotiations are taking place with a number of rather disgruntled...
There's a bus
There's a
behind
bus.
you.
There's a bus. SOS. Oh, action.
Yes, but I accidentally stopped the filming halfway through.
Oh, that was silly of you.
Yeah. I was trying to find the zoom button and I pressed the wrong button.
Oh, hello. He's been in it before. Right. Well, there you go. The bus has arrived, and now apparently we'll be on our way. We hope.
But on our way to where? Nobody seemed to know.
The lost bus. We're in the middle of nowhere. They've lost the yurt camp. It's moved, it's gone bankrupt. It's left us stranded. Or it was never there in the first place, of course. Either way, we're going through a charade of looking for a yurt camp in the middle of the night. Well, are you sure?
Yes.
Wow.
It's only water that will finish us off.
Just when we were contemplating the vultures picking over our bones, after the honking of a few horns, we were finally discovered. However, even the rescuers needed rescuing before we could get to the gear camp.
Yeah, no problem. rescue party came and got stuck in the sands. And now we think we know where we are.
When we found the gear camp, it was so dark and the gears were so smelly that we couldn't be bothered to get into them. So we all slept outside under the stars and amongst thousands of mosquitoes. Consequently, we were up extremely early, so early that we managed to do all the things that we were supposed to do the day before 8 o'clock in the morning.
He's young at heart. You've noticed? But they've all got different haircuts.
We're 9:15 in the morning. We've already been up, had our breakfast. Lawrence has been for a camel ride. And now we've got on a bus to the lake for a swim and a frolic.
That's it. Okay, what are you going to tell us today?
What am I going to tell you today? Well, we arrived in Samarkand yesterday afternoon, and now we're doing our city tour. So we're at Ulugh Observatory.
Ulugh.
And I'll resist telling Diana what I was doing yesterday afternoon.
There are many stars with Arabic names, and they were all chartered in the 15th century at the Ulugh Observatory. Ulugh was the 15th century ruler of the region. He was Tamburlaine the Great's favourite grandson. He was noted for his contribution to science and the arts. He created a huge university in Samarkand dedicated to astronomy and mathematics and other scientific pursuits. However, he fell foul of the puritanical Islamic clergy, who conspired with his son to have him executed. Here we have Shar-e-Zinda. The name means Tomb of the Living King. Most of the tombs are for relatives of Tamburlaine the Great, but the main shrine is probably that of Qusam ibn Abbad, who was a cousin of the Prophet Muhammad and was said to have brought Islam to the area.
solmaz qonun butunlamaymiz jonli xonim. Mangulik binolar kimning ko'shkidir, nahotki Timurning buyuk dashkidir, nahotki ayolning.
Despite 70-odd years of communist rule, the modern secular graveyard was put right next door to the tomb of the Prophet's cousin. I doubt that he would have approved of the photos. After the quiet of the tombs and temples, we ventured into the markets around the Bibi Hanım Mosque. The Bibi Hanım Mosque was one of Islam's biggest mosques until an earthquake in 1897 destroyed it. It was built by Timur's Chinese wife as a surprise for the emperor. Unfortunately, she had a fling with the architect, who was executed for his troubles, and Timur decreed that women should henceforth wear the veil so as not to tempt men. This is Samarkand's Rajasthan, which, as you know, means a sandy place. It used to be the old city's commercial centre. This building here is the Tilakari Madrasa, and that was built in 1660. And on the right-hand side is the Shared Door Madrasa, which was built in 1636. The original old marketplace, though, was dominated on the left-hand side by the Ulag Beg Madrasa, which was the university that Ulag Beg built in 1420. The whole area fell into disuse round about the 18th century, and gradually, through a mixture of earthquakes and wars, was reduced practically to rubble. When the communists took over, they restored the place to its former glory.
And here we have the tomb of Tamburlaine, who plundered and slaughtered his way into history and became the national hero.
Which one? This?
This one. And here are the inscriptions telling about life of Timur and the other members of his family.
Oh yeah, that's too cool. 3 rolls. I need to wash my hands.
Yeah.
We're in Samarkand and we've just left the Uzbekistan and we're upstairs in a bird restaurant.
A bird restaurant?
Yeah, well out the front there's a cage of peacocks and owls and things.
Oh, this is the one with the vultures.
All the birds.
Is this the one with the huge bird?
Yeah. I
haven't seen it. Well, we'll go down there and we'll see.
Is he still out there? At the corner?
Does she change to the
Must have been the meat there. It's beautiful.
Uzbekistan was something of a surprise to us. We expected it to be populated by an uncooperative and miserable people, as we had experienced the Russians to be. But these seemed a friendly bunch, and we expected a world of donkeys and rough roads, but there were highways, and although the cars lacked things like safety belts and uncracked windscreens, moving around the country was not difficult at all. What was difficult was discovering what on earth we were looking at half the time. Very few people spoke an English that we understood. As usual, we would have liked more time to explore the cities with their parks and restaurants, museums and theatres. It was a land as yet without TV and cinema or computers, that had a life that revolved around families and friends, weddings and seemingly more weddings. And there seemed little indication that this was ever going to change.
Just right.
I lost it,
See it in.
Để tôi chọn mọi loại cái này thầy nôm macaroni là đậu như đi kìa, ok. Yeah. Man, yeah. Oh,